first thing we must do in the continent of Africa, if we must grow as a continent, is to first of all pause. Why do I say so? You see, currently we're like a car that is on a high speed in a wrong direction. And no matter how we try, we always arrive to the wrong destination. The first thing we need to do actually is to tap ourselves at the back and say, stop. Let's slow down. Let's ask ourselves pertinent questions like, what do we want in the continent of Africa? And when we ask ourselves that question, possibly there will be an answer popping up in our brain on what to do and what not to do, the necessary steps to take in order to actualize a certain result in the society. And if we don't do this, we continue to fast track ourselves in the wrong direction without achieving any significant result. Now, look at where the world is going. AI, artificial intelligence, biotech, robotics. You know the reason why our people are not heavily investing in that field is because we are already in the wrong direction. In his book, Good to Great, Professor Jim Collins discussed the idea that it's not about having the right cars, but having the right people inside the right car. We are in the right geographical location with the wrong people inside that particular place. In other words, we cannot develop. Can't you see that we have the largest resources in the world, yet we cannot make anything significant out of it? So we have the best car, which is our country and our continent, that nature, by default, bestowed upon us. We can't do anything with it because we are wrong people in that particular car. Now, if you have the right people in that particular car, what do you expect? We're going to get to the right direction and to the destination. The first thing we must do right now in the continent of Africa is quite very simple. Let's now begin to retrain ourselves, because currently what we are doing actually is not enough to industrialize our nations. We must arrive to the fact that our education system is not that helps us to develop. It's education that focuses mainly on testing and grading. We have to reverse and then begin to train our people on industrial education. Education by doing, not just by testing and memorizing. The world is taking a new shape. In the future, it won't be the education of memorizing. For AI, artificial intelligence, as we know it today, is going to be able to handle that part of our life. It is going to be education by doing. Who is more creative? Who is more intuitive to come up with new ideas that will shape the entire world? African people are still sleeping when it comes to these ideas. Today, we are discussing about teaching people in the field of AI, robotics, and all of them. We are talking about going back to industrial education, like technical schools. Do you realize that most of our technical schools are being handled by incompetent teachers? More or less, teachers that still resort to testing and grading, other than teachers that can teach how to do things with their hands. For instance, sometimes in the past, an interviewer asked Elon Musk, who is the richest man in the world today, as we know, what is the best form of education that he could provide for his own children? He said the best form of education for him is that if his children that is going to learn engineering, what he would actually provide for them is simply bring an engine and place it on a table and get the tools like spanners, and then pull the engine apart and then teach those people how to put it together back. That is the best form of education you can get. I've seen people in this part of the world study computer science, and after graduation, they will go along the streets to pay someone who is doing photocopy to teach them computer, because they didn't know nothing when they were in school. They are using most of the softwares that are outdated, that cannot perform any duty. With what we are being taught in our school system, how do you think that you'll be able to produce something like Gemini, like DeepSync, like ChatGPT? You can't. It's not because you don't have the mental articulation or the mental faculty. It's because you are not refined with the skills and the knowledge needed to actually produce such things in this world we are. Let's begin to ask ourselves, do we really want to develop the continent of Africa? Or do we want to continue to blame one another for our inability to industrialize this continent? I recently did a little research, and I'm not just like I live my life doing research. So I just point in a keyword like how many people, based on rough estimate, have Dangote employed in our country, Nigeria. And I was startled that Dangote single-handedly has employed at least 500,000 Nigerians. And we know that Dangote is a billionaire in dollars, an estimated net worth of about $23 billion. Right? Now, my question then was, if we had the likes of Dangote, at least 150 of them in Nigeria, how many jobs do you think we are going to have in Nigeria? It's going to be around 75 million jobs. And we are 300 million people. Haven't we solved the problem of joblessness? So where are the centimillionaires? The job they are going to create. By the time the centimillionaires, the billionaires, the multi-millionaires have created jobs in the system, you figured out that there's nobody talking about joblessness in the society. All we are talking about is going out of the country and the continent to bring other people in to work in our industries. Yet we are 1.4 billion people with just 23 billionaires. That's not something to smile. That's something to frown at. The entire Europe is about 1,000 billionaires in Europe. The same thing go to Northern America. The same thing go to Asia. Why do you think they have surplus job that when your people leave Nigeria, Ghana, Burundi, Rwanda, Congo, Mali, but they go to America or go to Britain, they will have jobs? Because they are billionaires, they are entrepreneurs, have created surplus job that can give to their own people and give to those people who come in to their country. We can't do this when our education is simply that of testing and grading. Did you realize that any time an average black African leaves this country and migrate to another country, he is going to retrain himself, irrespective of the field he learned, to be able to fit in into the system that he's going to? For instance, if you study medicine, you can't just get to UK and start practicing. They're going to teach you. They're going to take you through some rigorous testing for you to be able to be refined to the point you are called an expert. And these are the people we have back home here. If a medical doctor in Nigeria have to leave this country and have to retrain himself when he travel to America and when he travel to the United Kingdom, what do you think about some medical doctors back here who cannot even pass the exam required to travel out of the country? In other words, we have let the Europeans, the Asians, to extract the best brains amongst us. Because we are not interested in development. We are interested in who can pass exam, who can read and write, who can speak good English. This is the reason we are behind. Do you want the future to grow? Do you want the future of Africa to grow? Then go back to industrial education. That is the only freedom we have. As long as we keep on pedaling in the wrong direction, we continue to get wrong results. Albert Einstein famously said that it is insanity to do the same thing over and over and over again and expect a different result. That's pure insanity. And that's what we have been doing. Like I made a video yesterday and I gave an example. I said in the 1970, Nigeria economy somehow was in a better shape. We had little students then in the country of Nigeria. Today we have millions of them. They are not able to do anything. They are not employable because they are not skilled in the right direction. The teachers themselves don't know what they are doing. So how do a teacher who don't know nothing about what he's doing raise a student who will know what he's doing? We know for sure that everything depends on upbringing. Whatever my teachers didn't give me, I may not possibly get it, except I'm part of the people who are the exception in the society, who go out of the way to learn on his own. How many people do you have that like that in the society? This is what we should be asking ourselves every single day in the continent of Africa. Rather than whining, groaning, pointing, accusing finger to one another, saying the problem is neocolonialism, colonialism, government, this, that. Every single one of us have to ask ourselves a question. What do I need to do in order to contribute in Africa? What do I need to do to contribute to the development of African country and continents? Until we begin to ask ourselves this question, we never develop. An average person in the United States of America is more consumed by what he or she is going to do to impact the society in a more positive way and create job and make life conducive for his or her fellow citizens. That's not the mentality of an average Nigerian. We have been conditioned to believe that somehow, some way, that the government is going to create jobs. The same thing goes to any other neighboring countries around us in the continent of Africa. Everybody has been conditioned to believe that it's only the government that create a job. But I'm saying no, because there's a problem in the society. That's a sign that you as a student have the opportunity to create jobs. Why is it taking us 1,000 years to understand? You see, an average professor in the United States of America knows how to use a computer. I'm not insulting professors, but you come back to my own countries and my own continent, 90% of them don't know how to use computer. And those are the people teaching the younger generation of Africa who are going to be working on a digital space. What are they going to teach them? They will not be fitted into the system. Hence, they continue to whine, groan, point accusing finger to the wrong things, instead of sitting back to ask themselves, what have we been taught? I want us to say enough is enough. Pull down this system that is holding us backward. Pull down this mentality that has been heading us backward. Education enables you to create and become free. If all education does for you is the ability to speak English and speak French, you're not educated. That's indoctrination. And that's what we have been doing for a very long time in the continent of Africa. Why is it very hard for us to understand? Go back right now, teach the farmers how to farm the right way. Teach those people in the building industry how to build the right way. If you don't teach them, they will never do the right thing. It's a pure fact. Every nation that must grow based on what is happening in their time. I tell people that every philosopher is as a result of the circumstances of the time he lived in. If Socrates is here with us, Socrates will not be talking about what he told the young people in Athens. Those things are not more necessary. It's not needed anymore in the world today. By virtue of reality, those things are no more needed. Questioning things is now a prevailing condition of every average person in the world today, to question things. So what type of philosophers are you producing today? It's a question I'm asking. You see, the circumstances that we have in the continent of Africa today should tell us that most of the teachers we have, we don't need them anymore. Two things: either let them to go and employ those who are skilled, or retrain them to be skilled for the future jobs. Otherwise, our children will continue to complain no matter what you do. I figure that this is one of the problems we have in the continent of Africa. To solve it, go back. Start retraining both the teachers, the graduates, the undergraduates, everybody. Because I've been in an auditorium where some employers of NEBO were invited to come and speak. And one of the outstanding ideas they shared there was the fact that every person they have to employ into their company, they have to retrain the person to be able to fit into their company. In other words, they spend 5 years, 6 years, 4 years in vain. They just know how to speak English. They just know how to write letter and write their name. That's not education. We must tell ourselves the truth. We don't want to face this truth because we are running away. Someone said that they don't want the illusion broken. I want it broken. I want the illusion holding black people backward broken. Because without every one of us coming together to do the things, nothing is going to change. It doesn't matter if it is today, tomorrow, next tomorrow, we continue to blame one another. Hence, we continue to pedal in the wrong direction and continue to generate the wrong results and blame other people for the problem we have caused on our own. Like I keep saying, don't blame no more, because as I look closely, I do not see any European control in Africa. It is the Africans that do that. And if there is any European control in Africa, it is through the African. In other words, you are the one who obliged. So that is not even something that is debatable. What do we need to do? Find ways to start creating systems that will train our students. I see so many graduates stuck in the job market. Some of them have jobs. They can't even scale. They don't read books. They don't get more certification. They don't get more skills. They just stayed like that. So they graduated 10, 15 years ago. They have not added no single knowledge into what they know. How do you build a society with such deficient mentality? Do you know how many books you can read in the university? I don't think it's up to 10 books. All the books you are going to read in your entire life in the university in Africa is not up to 10 books. Is that thing they are telling you to read 5 chapters, read chapter 1 to chapter 5 this semester? Is that how to read? Some people read the entire book, 300 pages, 200 pages, 250 pages in a day. That's what they are telling. For the whole 5 years, you just read 2 chapters, 1 chapter. That's why we don't have culture of reading. I've said it time and time again that the reason why we're able to come up with such individuals as Achebe and Shoyinka and Chimamanda and the rest of Gugu Ationg and the rest of them was because the white people discovered them for us. We don't read. What we love more than anything is pleasure. Do you want me to tell you? I'm telling you right now. There is no people on the entire planet of this world that love pleasure than black people. They want to dine in pleasure when they didn't work. Pleasure is for those who have worked. Do you want me to tell you? I'm telling you right now. You don't do pleasure when you have not worked anything. I saw a video, someone was discovered, an average Nigerian, a civil servant, so to speak. He went to Britain and he was asked, what are you doing here? He said he's here for pleasure. And he was asked, what are you doing in your own home country? He said, I'm a civil servant. And I asked him, how much do you earn? He said, 270,000. You are earning 270,000. That's probably about 3-point-something million naira in a year. And you can travel from Nigeria to Britain for pleasure. Brain is gone. Brain is gone. That's how colossal number of them are doing it. And that's not even the case. The case is the fact that he is stealing all the money in that particular place that he's working. That's why I told you people that all the government-owned industry in Nigeria and Africa are being destroyed by individual citizens of those countries. How do you make 270,000? How do you save up the money to travel to Britain? How do you enjoy with what is 270,000? That tells you that they are stealing, they are looting more than 10 million, 20 million in a month. That's why they are able to do that. That's one single individual. There are thousands of them doing that. Do you know how many Nigerians that own properties in America, that own properties in United Kingdom? The same thing goes to Ghanaians. The same thing goes to people from Uganda. Something is wrong with us fundamentally. We have to invest back home in our own country. Otherwise, we can't develop. We are trapped. And if nobody is telling us the truth, we can never become free. And that's what I'm doing. Because God said, go and speak to the younger generation behind you. I don't want to see them graduate tomorrow and tell me there's no job. I don't want to see them graduate tomorrow and say, I'm traveling to the Europe to invest with the capital. No, they're going to invest back home here. You talk about insecurity. You are the cause. What are you fighting? Tribalism. You are dumb. There's no tribalism here. What are you fighting? Religious nepotism. There is no religious nepotism. What you have is grossly ignorant people. You can live together as one people, even if you have 1,000 religions right here. Even if you have 1 billion tribes right here, you can live together. But ignorance will not allow you to articulate this simple concept that if you don't work together, you can't grow. This is a problem. Sometimes in the past, a couple of months ago, I went to the market to buy some books on political theory and political history. And while I was discussing with the bookseller, I asked him, what do you study in school? It's a little bit old man, maybe like 50 years. He said he studied political science. So I asked him, what do you think is the reason that African people are not developing the way they should be developing with all the resources that Mother Nature has given us and with all the highly educated, trained people, supposedly, as we call them, in the whole continent of Africa? You know what he told me? Neocolonialism. That's when I knew he didn't get education. He was purely indoctrinated. He is supposed to know better because he studied political science. When you study political science, you are ought to know better how evolution of government has evolved. You are to know that people are the ones who develop society by their own genuine initiative. It is not the form of somebody saying it is neocolonialism. It is there they can. No. That's the problem we have. Every average person I've talked to in Africa, it's either the person point to government or they point to colonialism or neocolonialism. Nobody's going to say that our culture, our ways of life, that we are not doing the right things, that we are lazy people, that we are not thinking the right thoughts, that we are not giving out our best. Nobody's going to tell you that. Nobody's going to tell you that our education system is. I've never known anybody that tells me that the education system is failing. The only way you see young people tell you that the education system in Africa is failing is when they tell you you couldn't get a job. So that I said school is a scam. Well, school can never be a scam. School is a place that refine you. The problem is that maybe the people training you are scammers. You want me to tell you? I'm telling you. School in itself is the best place to refine your genius. Now, if your genius is not refined in school, hold your teachers accountable, not school itself. This is a problem in the continent of Africa. That's why the same school system you go through here, you go to school system everywhere else in the world, you are refined in a way that you can contribute something that will shake the world, that can help you win a Nobel Prize in STEM. It is all about those who are training you. What I'm saying now, since we don't have expertise in these fields, what do we do? Wake up now and start retraining them. I've sit with someone who called himself an expert that diagnosed people in psychiatrics, right? And he was asking questions. And the person is asking question told him that he is a thought leader. And he doesn't know what thought leader is. He's a thought leader. What are you thoughting with your leader? What are you using your thoughts to thought? It simply shows he is not aware of what is happening in the world. By the virtue of his discipline, he should be the person to know what it means to be a thought leader. These are the people you have working in the mental health system or sector. How do you think they are going to help their patient? That's why I said, if you look at people like Kai Young, you see that people are highly refined. They took it upon themselves to learn. They read everything on spirituality, Buddhism. They want to understand how these things work. They read everything on tradition. They want to understand how these things work because they know for sure that there is something beyond what just the Western science sees. There is spiritual aspect of our life. You can debate all that all you like. Remember that science has only 4% understanding of the extant world. Where is the 96%? So when people say science said, well, that's true, but science also is a primitive endeavor. I'm sorry to say that. In other words, we continue to learn and come up with new initiatives, new ideas that will reshape our people in the time they are in. You don't expect your people to learn in school system the way we did in the 60s and the 70s. It won't work because your children are going to be trapped. They will not have no job in the future. The job of the future demands that you are highly skilled in a digital economy. We are not teaching them that. Everywhere they are passing exam, writing 10 paper, right? Rubbish. They need to wake up. And if we don't wake up, we'll continue to cling to the idea that the problem is the government. Go read or go check Men Who Build America, a documentary. That is a documentary that shows how America was built. Not even a single leader in America had a position in that particular documentary. Not one. With all the 40-something heads of state they have produced. Now you have produced how many heads of state in your country? You think that the head of state are the people that are going to build your country. It is never going to happen. It is you and I that's going to do it. It is the scientists and entrepreneurs. When the scientists come up with a new initiative, it is the entrepreneurs that invest in that, to develop that, to sell that, to push it to the rest of the world in order for people to buy it. That's how it is done. You can't build an economy without this. Imagine if we have the likes of Dangote, 1,000 of them in Africa. Remember, Dangote estimated net worth is about 23 billion. But we have someone like Mark Zuckerberg. He has about 100 and something billion or 200 and something billion. If we have those kind of people in Africa, we have so much job that everybody will be tired. We'll be looking for people to come and work. This is how it works. When you say there is no job, it's because you don't have enough entrepreneurs and enough refined scientists that come up with new ideas that the entrepreneurs will invest to scale it in such a way that they can market it to the rest of the world so that they will impact the per capita GDP of the nation. Period. That's why you are poor nations. This is what I wanted to share with you guys. And if you find this video very interesting, all I want to do is very simple. Go ahead now and share this video with your family and friends. And don't forget that I remain Captain Africa. Ad Astra.